Hi, we're live from the World Urban Forum in Kuala Lumpur, and today we're joined by Local Pathways fellow Ivy. Ivy, could you start by telling us what city you're from and what have you been working on recently?
I'm from Nairobi, Kenya, and I've been working on SDG 11, particularly SDG 11.1, which talks about improving living areas for all, including the urban poor. So that's what I'm working on. And even more specifically, I'm working on urban basic services on water and sanitation. That's what I'm working on.
All right, wonderful. So could you tell me a bit more about, how your experience on the Local Pathways Fellowship has been, and how has that helped amplify the work that you've been doing in Nairobi?
Yes. So the Local Pathways Fellowship has been very instrumental to me, given that I'm doing something so technical. So in two aspects, I can talk about it in two aspects. One was capacity building. One core aspect of Local Pathway Fellowship has been attending the SDG Academy course on sustainable cities. Through that, I was able to learn so much more about sustainable cities, about different aspects, different technical aspects, and also gather a lot of new material that was very, very relevant to me. And then also the network with the other fellows, especially those even I've been working with within the same group, the working group on infrastructure. Yeah, it's been an amazing learning curve.
Awesome, yeah. So, what advice would you have for future applicants who want to join the Local Pathways Fellowship?
So my advice is, once you see the application, please join. Please do apply. There's a lot to learn. I think right now what is needed is for us as young people not just to be informed but to be meaningfully engaged. Sure. And how to be meaningfully engaged is by putting ourselves out there to learn, to gain skills, to network. That's what is required for impact to be felt in the different cities. So please join us, do apply, and you will not regret it for sure.
Sure. Yeah. Wonderful, thank you. And also, having worked with on slum upgrading efforts, with the Swahiba Youth Network, as well as I think UN Habitat. Yeah. Could you tell me a bit more of, how do we make sure that we protect dignity and financial independence of the people that we're trying to support?
I think that's a very important question because for slums, particularly from the outward looking in, it's a very negative perspective that people have on slums, like there are areas of poverty, it's all about destruction. But once you go to the slum, when I was with Swahiba Youth Networks, one of the projects required me to go to individual homes so that we could structure the program to fit the needs of those we were working with. And one thing that I learned was the people who live in slums are people who have their livelihoods there. It's a community, the people who wake up every single morning to go to work and fend for their children, and it's very important to maintain that dignity. And the steps I think that can be followed is, one, how do we communicate the issues from the ground? I think it's very important for people who are working in NGOs and different agencies to communicate in a manner that still preserves their dignity and preserves their right to privacy. That is very important. And then two, another important aspect is engaging the community. A top-down kind of governance in somewhere like slums is not something that will work. Participation and engagement with the community is so important just to maintain that the financial independence. What do they need? Then address it from there, and that can only be gotten through engaging them meaningfully through all the processes of working in slums. Yeah.
Tell us, what's your favorite television show?
What is my favorite television series? That's a good question. I really love watching things like the Food Network because I love to cook. I love to experiment with different cuisines. So yeah, I would say.
Awesome. So one final question. As a student yourself, what role do you think young people can play in the push towards sustainable cities?
So as I had alluded to earlier, the role that we as young people need to put in is to be more meaningfully engaged in two ways: in capacity building, which would mean maybe doing online courses or master degree, PhD programs in subjects that are needed, like finding the need and then filling that gap. And the only way actually you'll find the gap or fill the need is by knowing what the need is. So one, being engaged, and then two, giving back or filling this need by building your own capacity. And one of the issues I had, or one of the biggest problems I faced during the Local Pathways Fellowship, was lack of data. For example, like getting data for somewhere like slums on water and sanitation is not something that's readily available, and that is a gap that personally I've seen through the program that I can further through my further studies, and hopefully maybe in future for PhD studies, that this is something I can look into. So one, just engage and then find the gaps, then fill the gaps meaningfully through capacity building and networking.
All right. Thank you very much, Ivy. Coming to you from Kuala Lumpur, the 9th World Urban Forum. Thank you.